Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're digging into something that affects every single one of us, our friendships. We're going to break down the key ideas from Dr. Jan Yeager's book, When Friendship Hurts. Because, let's face it, the world of our social connections, it can get pretty high stakes.
So get this. That's a real quote from the book. A real story. Can you even imagine? A 6-year friendship, totally destroyed. A career, just derailed. It's a pretty shocking reminder that the stakes in our friendships can be incredibly high. They can go from being our greatest support to our deepest devastation.
And that's the thing, isn't it? It's such a paradox. On one hand, you've got research showing strong friendships can literally add a decade to your life. But on the other hand, as we just saw, they can cost you your livelihood. So that brings us to the big question, the one we're all trying to figure out. How do you actually tell the difference between a friend who builds you up and one who's tearing you down?
To answer that, you first have to learn how to diagnose the problem. And the book gives us a great framework for this. It identifies these specific, recurring patterns of behavior that are basically like big warning signs, signals that a friendship might be doing way more harm than good.
Yeah, 21. That number might seem huge, right? But what's so powerful about it is that Dr. Yeager is basically giving us a whole new vocabulary. You know that weird feeling you get about a friend sometimes, but you can't quite put your finger on what's wrong? This list helps you name it. It helps you go from just a vague feeling of unease to a really clear diagnosis.
Let's break down a few of these common types. First up, and I think we've all known this person, the promise breaker. You know, the friend who's always canceling at the last minute? Now, what's interesting is the book suggests this often isn't even malicious. It could be a learned pattern from their own life. But honestly, whether it's on purpose or not, the impact is the same. It just slowly eats away at your trust. And then we've got the taker. And look, this is way more than just someone who forgets to return a book. This is a pattern where the friendship just feels completely one-sided. You start to feel less like a friend and more like a resource, you know? A resource for money or emotional support or connections, but with very little ever coming back your way.
And for our third example, the rival. Now look, a little friendly competition, that could be fine, even motivating. But this is something totally different. This is the friend who just can't seem to be happy for you when you succeed. You get a promotion, and their first comment is something kind of passive-aggressive. They have to knock you down a peg because to them, your success feels like their failure.
Okay, so identifying the problem, that's step one. But the really crucial next question is, what do you actually do about it? The good news is the book moves way beyond diagnosis and gives us some clear, practical strategies for taking action and getting your emotional energy back. So the book basically lays out two main paths. On one side, you've got what's called the slow fade, the passive approach where you just get too busy and let the connection kind of fizzle out on its own. And then on the other side, there's the formal end, an active, direct decision, often after some big trigger incident where you have to actually say, you know what, this isn't working anymore. But what if you want to try to save the friendship? The book has this fantastic 4-step guide for confrontation, and it's really smart. You start by just stating the specific behavior super clearly. Then you explain its impact on you. The third step is kind of the magic part. You reframe it positively. You give them a chance to prove you wrong. And finally, you just sit back and assess their response. Because their reaction, whether they get defensive or actually seem to understand, that's going to tell you everything you need to know. So, we've talked a lot about what to move away from. Now let's talk about what we're moving towards. To build better bonds, we need a really clear picture of what a healthy, supportive friendship is supposed to look like. What's the goal here? When you boil it down, the anatomy of a good friendship is beautifully simple. It's really about genuine affection and trust. It's about knowing you can share a secret without it becoming the talk of the town. At its core, a healthy friendship should feel like a safe harbor, right? Not a battlefield. And this brings us to a super critical point about modern friendship. We might have hundreds, even thousands of online connections. But as this chart shows, our actual capacity for true, deep friendship hasn't really changed. The book points out that most of us can only really sustain about 4 to 6 truly close friends. And that's a powerful reminder to be really intentional about where we invest our most valuable stuff, our time and our energy.
All right, now for our final and maybe the most powerful takeaway from all of this. After analyzing our friends, the book encourages us to turn that lens right back around on ourselves for a pretty crucial moment of self-reflection.
And this is maybe the book's most challenging idea. Our friendships act as a mirror.
The people we attract, and more importantly, the behaviors we tolerate from them, they often reflect our own self-esteem. I mean, if your whole circle is full of takers and rivals, it might just be a sign that, on some level, you don't believe you're worthy of a friendship that's built on true mutual support.
So we're going to leave you with this one powerful question to think about. If it's true that like attracts like, what are your friendships telling you about yourself? Take a hard look at your inner circle. Do they reflect the person you are today? And, maybe more importantly, the person you actually want to become? Answering that honestly can turn this whole thing from just a simple guide into a really profound tool for your own personal growth.